What is going on, FA Nation? My name is Justin Fensterman. Along with James Grande, we're back, baby. 11 games on the DFS NBA slate, and it is time to slay, Grande. How are you?
I'm great. Big slate. One of the biggest ones we've had in quite some time. Lots of news, lots of things swirling, Fancy. You know, we're less than 24 hours away from the trade deadline, and things are going to get interesting. We have to avoid the landmines. That is the tip of the night. Avoid the landmines, and that means all the guys that have been brought up in trade rumors. We have to pay extra special attention to.
Yeah, some of the players include John Collins. He's one of them. Aaron Gordon is one of them as well. I mean, James, you and I were just talking about a potential rumor surrounding Lauri Markkanen. I mean, again, this is everything that we're going to have to watch out for, especially tonight. A lot of teams on the slate. So without further ado, besides those landmines, let's talk about the normal landmines we're faced with, and that's injuries, because we just got word Colin Sexton is going to be out for tonight. So no Colin Sexton for the Cavs. Big scoring to go around and be divided. So that we just got word. Kyrie Irving is going to be out. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to be out. Another impactful shooter out tonight. We also have Darius Bazley out for the Thunder as well. Serge Ibaka is out. Kevin Love is out. Cole Anthony is out. Blake Griffin's out. Lonnie Walker is as well. Same with Monte Morris, Hamidou Diallo. Rudy Gay is out for the Spurs. Patrick Beverley out. Tristan Thompson. Gary Harris, David Nwaba, Rodney McGruder, Abdul Nader. They're all out. And then we have some questionables, including James Harden. That's the big one. We're going to have to see with the neck whether or not he plays. Giannis also Antetokounmpo is currently questionable with the knee. Malcolm Brogdon questionable with the back. Kevin Porter questionable with quad. Danilo Gallinari also questionable. He's got a knee. Same with Terrence Ross, who's questionable. Miles Turner is questionable with an ankle injury. Wayne Ellington is questionable with the groin. Same with Chase Randall and Bryn Forbes with a toe. Grande, that is a holiday gift list worth of injuries right there on this ginormous 11-game slate.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of things unfolding in the next hour, Fancy. So we got to be on our P's and Q's during this stream, especially with Indiana-Detroit locking the first game of the slate. We've heard Malcolm Brogdon's name brought up in trade rumors. The Pacers have even gone and said that they would consider offers on Sabonis as well. So things to consider.
Why would they trade Malcolm Brogdon?
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. They are, listen, Sean Mitchell said this to John and I in a chat we were in yesterday. Every player has his price, and that I think goes for everyone except a few guys across the NBA. So if the Pacers really got something they like, considering they did just get Karis LeVert, you know, maybe they would prefer to have LeVert in that Brogdon role per se. You know, you never know. But I'm just throwing it out there. He is questionable. There is a trade deadline yesterday. That is the first game of the slate. Something to monitor.
Right. Well, then let's get right to the high-priced point guards. A lot to choose from, Grande. I have literally spotlighted point guard and center as the really deep spots tonight. I don't know if you disagree. Swingmen, we're going to have to figure out. That's going to be a little bit tougher. But point guards, you have so many choices to choose from, bro. I mean, you've got Luka in the excellent matchup against Minnesota there. You've got John Wall against Charlotte, which is going to be awesome. I mean, Rozier on the other side. Where do we go? Where do we start, man? Because with me, I'm looking right at that Charlotte-Houston matchup, bro.
So, I mean, I definitely think it depends on how you are ranking out the stars, because I think a lot of people are going to have Luka as their top spend of the slate. You know, he goes up against a really poor defense and a pace-up spot. So, in that light, you're going to spend up on Luka. Then Trey Young is super cheap across the industry, 8,700. Not generally a price tag we see for Trey Young. He's generally in the nines. We've even paid $10K for him. He had a stretch earlier in the year when he put up 10 or 12, 50-plus fantasy point outings in a row. And we were paying $10K and doing it with ease. And, you know, okay, let's just plug Trey in for $10K, 50 fantasy points, move on. Not the same version, but he gets Sacramento tonight. You know, Sacramento defense can right a lot of wrongs here, Fancy. So I do like Trey Young, but I do like that the Houston-Charlotte matchup quite a bit tonight. Two teams that play lackluster defense. John Wall coming off a massive game. We don't know we don't know what's happening with Victor Oladipo officially. He was sat out on Monday due to rest, so we don't know if he's going to play, if he's not going to play. The trade deadline, Woj went as far as saying they're going to trade him.
Yep.
And if they are going to trade him, they shouldn't play him tonight, considering his injury history, at least this year. He seems like he's banged up.
8 p.m. Eastern start.
8 p.m. Eastern start, so we might not even know, but it leads me to believe he doesn't play, and that would mean I like John Wall even more, coming off the triple-double. Limited, Fancy, that our favorite word this year. We might as well just put everyone's limit at 40 freaking minutes, and they're going to be limited to 40. If there's no number attached to these guys when they say, I don't believe it anymore. I don't believe it.
I'm totally fine with that.
If they don't come out, if they just don't come out and say John Wall 35 or John Wall 25 minutes, you're lying. Because
it's funny you say that, because Devontae Graham, they said they were going to keep him limited for weeks. They kept him limited for maybe a week and a half, and now he's back. Maybe it's as a result of LaMelo Ball's injury.
Right.
He's back up there now playing close to 30 minutes. All of a sudden, you and I were talking about that. I'm like, please, we got at least another week of pad. Nah, bro. We're cooked. But I think both these guys, Rozier qualifying at shooting guard on DraftKings, and both of them made the starting five for that reason. I like them both. It's a great matchup, especially Rozier with the pace-up spot. Few bucks cheaper. We'll have to watch for Oladipo. Your thought process is right. But FanDuel gives us a gift indirectly because no Colin Sexton. And look who's sitting there at 5,500 versus your Bulls. Come on, bro. How can we go anywhere else at FanDuel at this point at point guard?
Yeah, that seems like a foregone conclusion that Garland becomes one of the chalkiest plays of the slate. He should be, because we're talking about we're taking the highest usage player from Cleveland by a long mile and giving it to the second highest usage player in Darius Garland, who's the offense is going to run through him. It's going to flow through him completely. Through the scoring, through the passing. Wouldn't shock me to see a ceiling game out of Darius Garland. Wouldn't shock me to see a double-double out of Darius Garland. I think he's a lock and load all formats on FanDuel. And I'll go as far to say he's close to that on DraftKings too, Fancy. Just because, 66, yes, harder to stomach. Probably more cashy than it is tournament viable.
Sub 7K, I'm fine with that.
Sub 7K is fine. It's a good matchup. But on FanDuel, load up all formats for sure.
Right. You got him at 55, but then if you were considering a TJ McConnell, let's say Brogdon is ruled out, I'd rather almost pay up the extra 500, find a place to get the money so I can get Garland when I'm on FanDuel.
Yeah, and the thing is, we saw the Pacers, Bob, when everyone thought they'd weave. They started Edmund Sumner over TJ McConnell the other day. So, take that for what it's worth. Edmund Sumner only played 12 minutes and McConnell got 30. But if they do that again, Garland already starts, right?
Right.
We're not worried about Darius Garland's going to slide it. No, he's already there.
This team has no consistent scoring outside of their backcourt.
Right, correct. So it's gonna be the Darius Garland show, and you plug him in and you just kind of move on, because the Bulls aren't. I don't think the Bulls are good enough to blow them out, right? I think they have looked good at times this year. Right now is not one of those times, and I think Darius Garland is safe enough where you can use him in all formats tonight.
Yep, let's move on to shooting guards, because we got a situation with James Harden to 10 o'clock Eastern start, and he's questionable right now. So how can we build around this guy if he's questionable currently? So now we have to pivot, at least for right now, with the information that we know. So who are you looking at shooting guards? So because for me, when I was doing the starting five video on the site earlier, that's where I just tried to, I don't want to say take the easy way out, but Terry Rozier qualifies at shooting guard on DraftKings. So I just said, okay, there's a spot right there, good price. But if you're not going that direction and you're still looking to pay up, who do you like at the two?
I do like Terry Rozier quite a bit. I think Fred VanVleet is underpriced, and It's funny because Lowry is getting mentioned in trade rumors. Norman Powell has been focused around a lot of trades, and they're not moving this guy. Van Vliet is going to play 40 minutes. He's going to take a whole bunch of shots every single night, and he continues to be consistent under 8K. Love Levine, Van Vliet for tournaments. And then, we saw a couple guys get shifted positions. Will Barton finally shooting guard eligible. I like Will Barton quite a bit. I mean, dude, lock in 30 fantasy points a night and move on. Will Barton really safe for cash games tonight. But he healed his tournament play in a great game environment in Atlanta, Sacramento. And Devontae Graham, you mentioned it already. Like, we talked about this kind of extensively in last live stream, Pensy, where they didn't want to advance his minutes. Well, it went from 18 to 29 in one game.
Right, and that's where, and I was on the side of the argument, I'm going to be a spectator because I'm not expecting the minutes to jump.
Right.
And they jumped.
Right, and you weren't wrong in any capacity, but we just have to, everyone has to just ignore these limitations unless we are directly given a number, because every limitation seems to be, it just doesn't seem to be truthful. Tyrese Halliburton was on a limit, plays 33 minutes. John Wall is on a limit, plays 36 minutes. Devontae Graham is on a hard limit, 29 minutes. It's just nothing is truthful. Devontae Graham's probably going to play over 30 minutes tonight. I like him quite a bit in this value tier. $5,000 is a really good price over on FanDuel.
Let's move on to the Swingmen. This is where things are going to get a little bit harder if you don't go this direction. Well, there are a couple of directions you could go. I mean, come on, James. I've been talking about Jaylen Brown to you all freaking day, man. Come on, dude. I mean, Tatum feeling the effects of COVID and sickness. Jaylen Brown has been balling out against Milwaukee. There are two spots you could beat the Milwaukee Bucks. Number one, you could beat them with their size advantage if you have a skilled big man that can dribble. You can get inside and take advantage of them at the 5 spot. You can also take advantage of them a little bit at the 2, and that's where Jaylen Brown, switching over from 2 to 3 at times, he's going to be able to once again have a good game against them. At least in my
Yeah, I mean, he's been the best player on this team, and it hasn't been Jason Tatum, who's still priced like the best player, but their best player has been Jaylen Brown, and he's doing it in all capacities. He's rebounding the basketball, he's passing well, and his team setting up his teammates for with open looks. So. And that's just the cherry on top, because we know he's a very good scorer. So I'm with you. I think Jaylen Brown's a great play. I'm actually surprised a lot of people are looking to play Jaylen Brown. Generally checks in under owned, and it's kind of a situation where we can, fly under the radar, get a quick 50 burger out of Jaylen Brown and chop it up and nice 50 out of Jaylen Brown at 10%. But he's fixing to be 20% owned. I find that a little interesting. I actually prefer him to Kawhi, and I know there's a revenge narrative for Kawhi. I like the savings to Jaylen Brown that we're going to get off. A $1,700 savings on FanDuel, I think, is pretty significant, especially with the star, how many stars we have available to us. If we play Jaylen Brown, we're more likely to get a Luka plus Jokic or a Luka plus Giannis. So I like Jaylen Brown quite a bit. I love the guy under him as well, and Gordon Hayward. That price on FanDuel is stupid. It's stupid.
7K.
Bestie, dude, before LaMelo Ball was entered into that starting lineup, who was the go-to guy for Charlotte?
No, it was Gordon Hayward.
It was Gordon Hayward.
Gordon
Hayward. This offense becomes so concentrated with Hayward and Rozier without LaMelo. With LaMelo is dominating the ball, and everyone else is, finding their spots. When it's no LaMelo, it's Hayward and it's Rozier, and it's PJ Washington living off of them, and it's Devontae Graham living off of them. Hayward is a great playmaker that I expect to continue to do what he did last game, 48 fantasy points, and 7K is just stupid. Give me all the Gordon Hayward, all the Jaylen Brown in this mid-tier.
Ownership expected to be close to 32% for Hayward.
It should be Fancy at 7K. It really should be.
So I mean, and this was my problem why I was all focused on Brown right from the start. It's because I don't really like anyone else at these spots, man. I don't know if you like someone that's really valued. When it comes to someone, I know that in John and Pemba's playbook today, he's got Michael Porter in there. I'm a little bit lukewarm. I like the Nance matchup. I do. I don't mind it very much because Markkanen is not really a tough guy at all. Outside of that, I mean, you can look down in the value tier, and if we want to stick with the Hornets, Malik Monk is going to get the volume and the time.
Yeah, I think that is where we would look. I do think that it's become slightly more interesting with Colin Sexton out. Not that Colin Sexton is going to and there's a lot of shots to be had. And not that Larry Nance is like this, oh, no Colin Sexton, well, my offense is going to skyrocket. That's not really who Larry Nance is. But, 3, 4, 5 more shot attempts would be nice out of Larry Nance. And
he can hit long-range shots, too.
Correct. And I do think that does bode well for everyone involved, including Larry Nance. So I do like Larry Nance. I do think Malik Monk is the value here, though. $3,800 on FanDuel, too cheap. $43 on DraftKings. DraftKings, his position eligibility is a little different. He's a point guard / shooting guard on DraftKings. So you won't find him at small forward. But $4,300 is still too cheap. Listen, man, he just missed shots the other night. He played 27 minutes. He just missed. He shot 5 of 15 from the floor. If you're telling me Malik Monk is going out there tonight, Fancy, and taking 15 shots, I'm going to play him in every one of my lineups. It's just, right. It is, because he can go 10 for 15, and we're talking about a complete, he's going to be 100% owned in that scenario.
Yeah, and we saw it multiple times this season. All it takes is one of those guards being out of the way for a game or two, and he immediately gets that bump. And so we're going to take advantage of it tonight before the rest of the industry catches up and this guy becomes 5K plus. And we're sitting there, remember, hey, Grande, remember 6 slates ago when this guy was 3,800 on FanDuel? Wow, take advantage now. Let's move on to the bigs here because Giannis, I've not seen any update, but Giannis is still questionable against the Celtics. If he's in, it's a great matchup. But we can also look elsewhere too because you've got Sabonis, who's kind of in purgatory as well, James, because of the Miles Turner and Brogdon situations once again. And then there's an underperformer with an amazing matchup that he dominated about a month ago in Kristaps Porzingis. You joining the ride on the unicorn, man? You coming with me, man?
Yeah, I mean, 62 fantasy points is not something to just ignore, right? And the matchup hasn't changed much. I mean, Minnesota was dead last with Karl-Anthony Towns against bigs before the injury. Then during his absence, they were dead last. And now that he's back, they're still last. So, it's a great spot. And I love the FanDuel price tag, especially 7,500. It has been inconsistent. So I don't think I would, John has him listed in cash. I would probably only play him in tournaments. Obviously, if Giannis plays, I prefer Giannis. Obviously, if there's no Brogdon Turner, I think it's fair to say we both would lean Sabonis in that case. You can make a case for Porzingis, though, in tournaments, and if he goes for 60 again, you're in the driver's seat. So I do like Porzingis. It just depends on the way your roster construction ends up, and it depends on who's playing for Indiana, if he ends up playing. If Giannis doesn't play, we haven't even talked about Bledsoe. We haven't talked about DiVincenzo. We haven't talked about Middleton. They're all firmly in play. We're at the power forward position. Bobby Portis, right? I mean, all these guys would be in play. We haven't talked about it, but I think it is fair to mention Giannis did practice Tuesday, but does that mean he plays Wednesday? Not necessarily.
Yeah, and I will say this as well, is when it comes to the situation with Porzingis, I'm thinking that if you're playing him at 8K, you're expecting to go 40 plus. That's what my expectation is.
Correct.
And by the way, the spread on this game was about 8.5. And my philosophy on tonight is if Dallas is going to blow out Minnesota, it's going to be because Porzingis is dominating. That's my philosophy. That's my line of thinking. And if everybody out there has that line of thinking and wants to go in on Porzingis, you're going on Porzingis. A nice piece of news just came out, Grande, and I'm seeing it that apparently no Raptors are going to be resting tonight. So does that give you any kind of comfort regarding the status of Kyle Lowry? Because again, with what you just said, with what reports can you believe? I mean, we're seeing this now come out. What are you thinking?
I mean, they might not be rested, but if the Miami Heat offer Tyler Hero at 801 tonight and I mean, Toronto's not saying no, like if Miami's just like, screw it, we got to get this guy. I mean, we could only get half a game of Lowry. So I still don't love it. I'm still going to avoid the situation, not even considering Aaron Gordon, not considering Evan Fournier just for these particular. Like, if I lose because of these guys, like, I think that's fine. Like, even if you want to play tonight light and if you want to play, like, I guess you don't have to wait till tomorrow to play late, but if you want to play light tonight, just because you're a little weary on who's going to be traded, who's not, you can. And just because the Raptors are all playing doesn't mean they can't be pulled out middle game because that trade has been pulled,
And wait till tomorrow, because when players are traded and then players aren't going to be able to play, you're going to get so much value. Tomorrow's a short slate.
Tomorrow's going to be wild.
There's no better night than right after the trade deadline, hours after the trade deadline, on finding that value tier. And these sites can't anticipate it. That's the problem.
Yep.
There's a lot of these trades, from the way the flow is going, a lot of these trades are either going to take a huge dump on us this evening, or tomorrow is going to be one of the best days ever, because I freaking love NBA trade deadline day. It's one of my, you can see by my excitement, it's one of my favorite days of the year. And hopefully it's rich with trades. And that's going to be great for DFS. Not any other power forwards, Grande, that you like when it comes to the value tier for tonight.
Yeah, like John has Nick Claxton listed as power forward. I prefer using him over on DraftKings at center, where he's $4,000. We also get double bonus over there. So I prefer him on DraftKings personally. He's a center. I would use him. I want to ask Fessy, because I've been preaching this, or just like asking why, for like 2 weeks since Marcus Morris was announced the starter. He's been nothing but great. But FanDuel just doesn't, like, they're just lagging behind with his price. 3 of the last 4 games, he's put up 27 or more fantasy points. And the only reason he didn't in the 4th was because they blew the Charlotte Hornets out. Like, is there any reason we shouldn't play Marcus Morris at 4,500? Because he's been great, and he continues to be great. This is a guy, and I said this a lot, this is a guy who, before he was traded to the Clippers, was averaging 20 points a game for the Knicks. He was averaging 18 points per game, or 17 the year before for the Celtics. Like, why does he not get respected?
I'll tell you why.
This site?
I'll tell you why. You look at the stats overall, and it seems like he's pretty scoring dependent. That's why. I don't think these sites believe that he's rebounding with any kind of consistency, and he's not. And that's the problem. So you're living and dying by the shots. However, with no Serge Ibaka, and he's playing in the 20s and we're seeing the 30s, at least the minutes floor is safe. And he's going to get double-digit shots for the most part. So we at least have that safe floor. And if we're building stars and scrubs and this guy's 5K, 100% I'm playing him. Ivica Zubac, he can't do everything by himself.
Right. Okay. I like that. And you say 5K, even cheaper over on FanDuel, 4,500.
Right. So, I mean, look, he's getting – if I'm seeing double-digit shots and I'm seeing minutes in the mid to late 20s and even teetering into the 30s, which he has been, that gives me some trust if he's not going to grab boards. And in this particular matchup, by the way, San Antonio's front court is garbage. No disrespect, Jakob Poeltl. You're there, you're the by default option, and you're able to benefit. That's the reason why. Their front court is freaking garbage, Pop. You can't convince me otherwise, Coach. All right? Let's move on to center and talk about Jokic here. Make everybody happier. Nikola Jokic in Toronto, another front court that you could just completely attack over and over again. Ooh, Pascal Siakam. Please, you can drive by him.
Yeah. How do I add to, how would you rank the stars tonight, Fency? Would Jokic be your top play? Would Luka be your top play? Giannis, Harden? In this matchup against Toronto, if they continue to do this small ball lineup, or even if Aaron Baines is there, it doesn't matter. Jokic is matchup proof. So he is.
Yeah, I was going to say, to answer your question, by the way, Luka is my number one play tonight.
Luka is your number one play?
Yeah.
I think so as well.
Yeah. Minnesota, the spread indicates it. And, I mean, if it's not going to be Porzingis, it's going to be Luka. So it's going to be one of the two. So
it could be both. I mean, they could just do everything.
If they're going to blow them out, then it has to be both. So
Jokic close. I think Jokic is a close second for me. On today's podcast, I went pretty long about how I think James Harden, if he plays, is the contrarian breadwinner on today's slate, because I don't think, although our ownership projections or our draft forecaster projections suggest he is going to be highly owned, I don't buy it compared to Jokic and Luka and Giannis. And I think Harden could be the winner, but I digress there.
Well, yeah, but the problem is because we've got questionable.
You won't know. You just don't know. He's 10 o'clock. It's the same thing last night. Steve Nash didn't release the news until like 9:50 or like 9:40 last night. Like, we're not. If he didn't release it then, I mean, back to back. You never know. He's 10:01. Right.
So check out my theory on Clint Capella tonight, because Clint Capella is not only in such an advantageous spot at such a cheap price in the low 7Ks on both sites, but think about this, and this is how the trade deadline, this is my twisted thinking. I have some sick thoughts, and clearly your dog is about to agree with this. So eat on this, dog. Clint Capella, he's going to benefit even more if John Collins is traded tonight. I like him even without this crazy philosophy that I just gave out. But if John Collins, let's say, gets traded because his name has been rumored, he wants to stay, the organization, then guess what? It's going to be more Capella. But it doesn't get better of a matchup than this, and he's proven it before.
Yeah, it doesn't get better. I'm sorry for my dogs just going crazy.
Please, it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is we saw Capella's minutes back up to 29, right? And they had dipped a little bit, 23 against the Lakers for no reason. Wasn't in foul trouble. Just shot poorly, 4 for 16 from the floor. Played 23 minutes. I agree. Like, if Collins gets moved, it's clearly a boost to Capella. But I don't think it matters because they've played side by side all year, and Capella's put up monster numbers regardless. So I'm in on Capella either way. You mentioned it happened already this year. 24 and 14 in 26 minutes against the Kings. Right. And the Kings are the worst defensive unit in basketball. I mean, anytime we get Capella, there's like 20 rebound upside. It's the Kings. It's a great pace game. The spread, the total, everything is where you want it to be. I like Clint Capella quite a bit. And fancy the price, right? He's 73 on DraftKings, 72 on FanDuel. You can't beat that for the upside that he gives us.
I can't beat that, but I could say Jonas Valanciunas is at a nice price point on DraftKings as well.
So yeah, he is a great spot. I mean, and Al Horford is on the receiving end of this massacre. He's gonna get from Jonas Valanciunas. So yeah, and then I think honestly it's Zubac in the mid tier and Claxton in the value tier on DraftKings, and then that's like it. Like Isaiah Stewart is a center on DraftKings. John has him. He's a power forward over on FanDuel. He's been consistent. You could go there, but I don't think the center is too hard, right? It's Jokic, it's Capella, Valanciunas in the mid tier, and even if you want to sprinkle a little Christian Wood in there, you could sprinkle a little there
against Charlotte. And Cody Zeller's gonna play.
Yeah, that's
doing a lot of this.
Oh, I don't know if Wood
like that. Seriously, but no. See, I'm not afraid. Come on, bro. I love attacking Charlotte. It's just so much fun, and most of the time it wins. That's the best part, James.
You're underselling. I almost like every time. Like almost every time.
95% of the time it works every time. He's James Grande at @the_real_Grande on Twitter. I'm at FenceD Sports. Get in the chat. Get those lineups set. 11 games to dominate. Let's do it. Let's win.